Quileute Reservation, La Push, October. Full moon. The first corpse appeared by the river. It was an adult deer, split in half as if a giant claw had torn it apart in rage. It hadn't been eaten, just destroyed. Jacob sniffed the air. It wasn't a newborn, it wasn't a puma, and it wasn't one of theirs. Something about the scent was ancient, like old iron, dried blood, and something more, something that didn't belong to their world. 2 nights later, a human scream tore through the sky above Forks. A hiker, found faceless, torso open. The tracks didn't match any known local predator. Charlie Swan couldn't explain it, but he knew it wasn't a natural death. He called Bella, and Bella called Carlisle. At the Cullen house, tension rose. Edward searched through centuries-old archives. Jasper patrolled the forest. Alice tried to see, but nothing came. Everything was gray, like an ancient fog cloaking the future. "This isn't one of us," said Edward. "Not even something I can properly trace." Carlisle grew pensive. "What if it isn't from now?" In his private library, Carlisle kept books he showed no one. Among them, a 17th century translation of a French inquisitor's diary recounting encounters with creatures that transformed only during the full moon, retaining no human consciousness. They are not shapeshifters. They are not born of will or protection. They are children of the moon. They don't live among us. They don't understand language. They are jaws and hunger. They only hunt and flee the sun. Carlisle read aloud. "One was captured once in Romania. The Volturi imprisoned it, but at the next full moon, it vanished. All that remained in the cell was a dead wolf, eyeless." Billy Black confirmed it. "My grandfather spoke of them," he said, sitting in front of Jacob. "Soulless wolves, not ours. He said when a true wolf hunts, the forest trembles and shapeshifters retreat." Jacob frowned. "Why haven't we ever seen them?" "Because they don't walk among humans. They fall like storms. Every generation, 1, maybe 2, and when their hunt ends, they disappear." That same night, Emmett was attacked. It came out of nowhere, a slash from deep within the woods. It threw him against a tree with such force it split the trunk. Stunned, Emmett stood up with his chest torn open. He hadn't smelled anything. He hadn't heard anything. Yet the creature had sensed everything. Edward arrived seconds later. All he glimpsed was a hairy, dark figure, taller than a man, but not one of the wolves. Its eyes were silver, like moonlight reflected on a frozen lake. A meeting was inevitable. Cullens and Quileutes gathered in the clearing, like in the old days, but with less tension. "It's not one of ours," Sam said grimly. "And definitely not one of ours," Edward added. Carlisle stepped forward, an old book in hand. "There's something we must consider. These creatures don't follow territory or vengeance, only the moon." "What happens when the next moon returns?" Seth asked, trembling. "Then we're all prey," said Jacob. "Vampires and wolves." The alliance was formed, a joint patrol. Vampires and shapeshifters together, tracking, hunting, training for what none of them fully understood. Rosalie wouldn't accept it. "Now we're trusting our backs to dogs?" Emmett, chest still wrapped in bandages, replied, "I'd rather have my back guarded by a dog than my chest split open by a nameless wolf." Bella feared for Renesmee. Jacob chose to patrol near the house alone. "If it gets close," he said, "I'll know before anyone." But when the next full moon came, Renesmee wasn't the first in danger. It was Leah. She was patrolling alone north of the river when she smelled it, not like a vampire, nor like a predator. It was emptiness, death, cold. And then she saw it, a wolf over 2 meters tall, fur black as coal, eyes silver, and a mouth that didn't growl. It hissed. Leah ran, not from fear, but because she knew not even her form could face it alone. Now they knew something more. The child of the moon didn't just hunt, it learned, and it was getting closer. And in the heart of all this, among myths, memories, and howls, remained one question none dared say aloud. What if they can't kill it? What if they can only survive it? 2 days before the next full moon. In the Cullen cabin, Carlisle unrolled a map of the region. Edward, Jacob, Sam, Leah, and Jasper gathered around. "The attack patterns make sense," Edward said. "It chooses areas where the moon shines brightest, where there's less tree cover." "As if it needs to see the moon to transform," Sam added. Carlisle nodded. Ancient texts describe the children of the moon as creatures purely bound to the lunar cycle. They don't choose, they don't think, but this one seems to. "What does that mean?" Leah asked. "That it's not a newly turned child, it's a survivor from another era." The next night, Alice woke with a scream, a vision, blood, fog, and a lurking figure. But something changed. Alice sat up, confused. It wasn't the future, it was a memory, hers. With Billy's help, Carlisle found an ancient tribal record speaking of a wolf of silence who destroyed entire villages in the 18th century. One name etched in stone, Koruk. Not a man, not an animal, just that, the wolf who doesn't die. The full moon rose, and with it, the roar returned to Forks. But this time, they were waiting. Jasper, Leah, Jacob, and Emmett lay in ambush in the clearing near the river. Edward, with Bella and Rosalie, guarded the perimeter alongside Renesmee. Jacob saw it first. He's coming from the east. The air froze. Not from weather, but from fear, something rare for vampires and wolves. And yet, they all felt it. Koruk appeared, not running, walking, as if he knew nothing could stop him. He was larger than any wolf form they had seen, but the worst were his eyes. Human, ancient, remorseless. Jacob leapt first. Koruk swatted him away. Leah followed. She bit him, but his fur was like iron. Jasper leapt from a tree. Koruk spun with impossible speed, slamming him to the ground so hard the forest trembled. "He's learning our moves," Edward shouted. Carlisle stepped forward, calmly. He held the ancient text with the old names. He spoke one. "Koruk, do you remember your name?" The wolf paused, just a second, but in that second, his pupils shrank. Edward shivered. "He's aware. He's trapped inside," Koruk roared, as if something inside wanted to answer, but couldn't. Bella, holding Renesmee, whispered, "What if he doesn't want to kill? What if he doesn't know how to stop?" Edward looked at her. "You want to save him?" "No, but I don't want him to die without knowing he was more than a beast." Carlisle risked everything. He crossed the trees, spoke in the language from the journal, words for light, memory, name. Koruk staggered. For a moment, his form seemed to fracture, his front legs trembled, his eyes fogged. Then he screamed, not a roar, a scream, like a man. Koruk's body collapsed. The transformation broke. He lay as a naked man, gaunt, torn, with empty eyes. Carlisle knelt. "Koruk?" The man looked up and in his final breath said, "I no longer hear the moon," and died. Days later, the Cullens and Quileutes burned his body in the clearing, not as punishment, but in respect, to close a centuries-old cycle. Sam spoke ancient words. Billy wept without explanation. Jacob placed a stone on the ashes. Renesmee asked if he was a monster. Bella answered, he was someone trapped in a monster, and now he's free. From that day, Cullen and Quileute returned to routine. But something had changed, no longer just treaties, but shared memories, and the same scars. Because for 3 nights, beneath the full moon, enemies had become allies, and they learned that the most dangerous thing isn't always the enemy, but forgetting who you once were.